Hello, my name is Ha, and this is Ann, my wife. This is just us sharing a little bit of our story and how we chose the process of our photographer or videographer and how we plan our wedding pretty much.
Yeah, so starting out, when we first got engaged, it was pretty hard. It was a long, stressful planning process, and the first thing that popped into my mind was how to find a videographer and a photographer. And the most important thing for me was that I want to find a photographer that can capture moments, and that was like the biggest thing on my list. So searching through the internet, wedding wires, and all the recommendation for photographers online, it was a lot of photographers that I have to comb through. And so I think I found Sergey on one of the website, and I can't remember what it was. And seeing his work online really hit home for me because all the moments I see online was exactly what I wanted for my own wedding pictures. It's very candid. It wasn't very posed, and that was something that captured my attention. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, I can't afford this guy because it was so polished. It was so, I don't know, emotional in a way. And so I said, hey, you know what? Let's just email him and see maybe we can work something out. And so that's when I talked to my fiance at the time, now husband, that we're gonna just see how it'll go. And I did show him a few of Sergey's work. And what was your first expression of that?
Yeah, so my main concern was that I was really worried about pictures being kind of cheesy and kind of like
Yeah.
that wedding style. And we're Asian. There's so many different cheesy style of Asian wedding pictures we've seen
Right.
throughout the years. And we wanted something kind of timeless.
Right.
We like the black and white. We like kind of like pictures that, you know, if you look at it, it's going to last throughout the years instead of something you look at and you're like, oh my God, what were we wearing? You know, versus something that, oh, wow, your wedding was beautiful. And when I saw Sergey's work, it kind of captured what she said, that emotional aspect of the bride and groom, and not necessarily like kind of like staring in the camera.
Right.
It was more natural feel and more kind of like really put together really well, where it's like the right moment at the right time. You know, and I think that's what made me think, yeah. And then of course I asked her, you know, well, how much is this guy? It was pretty impressive though, to see some of the pictures that he had
Yeah,
on
so
the
that was our
website.
main concern, and I reached out to Sergey, and then he did set up the first meet, and deep down inside, I knew it was the right photographer for us because Sergey was really personable, pricing, and like he's very accommodating. Um,
Yeah, he's very upfront. One of the things that kind of stuck with me too is where we met. It was a very kind of like a very intimate place too, a very nice little spot that we found locally near us. And he'll meet you wherever as well. And it's just a nice place, a really calming place when you're making such a big decision, kind of like an investment, and you're saving up for so much for a wedding.
yeah.
And you're meeting at a nice place, and he's such an upfront person, a really nice, well-known person in the industry as well. And of course, he was just really nice to us and kind of got to know us, not just to kind of like get our money, just kind of like to get to know us so that we can be kind of like friends first before we start taking
Exactly.
pictures of each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's like before he makes me do something, you gotta, you know me a little bit. And I think that's very personable of him. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that process. Yeah.
Yeah, so moving forward from that, we signed contracts, and he walked us through because it's our first time, so we don't know how the process would be, how the day would look like, and he did walk us through with all of that, how to, set up for the day and the timeline on what we should do, like the first look and all of that. So we have a bigger picture of what our day would look like even before getting too close to the date. It was like a year in advance that we found Sergey. And yeah, so it makes the planning a lot easier once you have the videographer and the photographer out of the planning process. So everything after that, it went a little bit smoother in our planning.
Yeah, I think that for us, we got lucky because we planned so early in advance.
Yeah.
And also the accommodation that Sergey and his photography kind of given us. It really does help when he's in contact with us, and we know, even though it's a year and 9 months engagement, we were kept close contact, and we kept kind of email back and forth, making sure we understand where each other is coming at. And then, of course, which led up to, we also did a engagement shoot.
Right.
Which, that's a whole different story. So the whole engagement shoot, we're like, man, we should do something kind of fun. And, my idea and her idea was to do somewhere destination shoot, and we wouldn't know how much it would cost, or if he was even willing to travel to go far. And he was just like, shoot for the stars. We'll shoot for the stars. So we said, well, let's go to Sequoia. Why not? We have this beautiful Yosemite. I'm sorry, not Sequoia. Yosemite. So we picked Yosemite. It was a beautiful spot. We went hiking there not too long ago, and we were like, we want to come back to take our pictures.
Yeah.
And so we shoot the idea to Sergey, and lo and behold, Sergey said yes. And so we started the planning process for that. And, we decided that, we were going in kind of June.
Yes, our wedding was in September.
And we went in the summertime.
I think we went May and June, which is really nice, beautiful weather.
And then we and we planned it for one whole day. And sure enough, Sergey drove up there about 5-6 hours all by himself, took pictures with us, hung out with us for 5-6 hours, and then drove back home. And the experience was great. We loved the shots that he took. It was some of we've never thought would be able to do something like that. I
think he made it a lot easier because I'm really camera shy, don't know how to pose, but the way that Sergey made it feel like it's just hiking, and he would automatically capture moments that you wouldn't even think how it would look out like into the pictures, and he was able to capture that without me being so awkward in front of the camera, and that was one of my biggest worry too. He was so relaxed behind the lens that it was so fun capturing or going onto the shoot with him, and you can tell that he really loved his art. So that's why it made us feel like it's a more of like an enjoyable moment versus like, oh no, we're going on a photo shoot, we have to learn to pose a certain way. That wasn't how it was for me. So yeah, that's how our picture turned out to be so candid and so timeless, because of how he made us feel going on to these shoots as well.
Yeah. I mean, not to mention, it was some pretty gnarly hikes. I mean, Yosemite has some pretty crazy hikes. At one point, we were like on a side of like what felt like a mountain. And for him to carry all his equipment and everything, and being so professional and friendly as well. And just, I didn't feel like we were working. I didn't feel like he was working. He was enjoying himself as well. We were just checking up on each other. You got water? We got water? Okay, yes, let's go. And so we're just like hiking from one beautiful spot to the next at Yosemite. And, the pictures speaks for themselves. And we are just so glad that we chose Yosemite and shoot for the stars, I guess.
Yeah. And we're so happy that we found Sergey
absolutely.
are willing to do that with us, because not a lot of photographers would be willing to drive 6 hours there and 6 hours back in one day for us.
Yeah.
And so the whole planning process and the whole leading up to the wedding, it was the experience that we had with each other, and how we were able to capture that on film meant a lot more than the wedding day in itself. And I felt like that's where all the memories were built, not just at the wedding, but how it led up to the wedding, the planning process, and the engagement photo shoot that we had with each other was like the biggest thing for us. Yeah. So we still to this day still talk about that engagement shoot or the planning process of our wedding.
Yeah, I think that I probably remember more of the engagement shoot and more of the process, and then my actual wedding date. Our actual wedding date flew by.
Was for our family.
Yeah, pretty much. But the planning process was just the key right there. Every day, day in and day out, finding the photographer, getting to know your photographer, and going on a trip pretty much to Yosemite to take these pictures. It's that process, and it's bonding, and it's kind of like it's real, And
we're building memories in the process.
And
of
you can
all of
tell
this.
by the pictures we're building really great memories too. So
Yeah.
definitely that experience in itself, it's more than what we could have asked for in just pictures. I mean, but the pictures, it brings it to life for us. We can explain all we want, but if you can look at our pictures, you can tell, it's natural. It's not like we're posing or anything, but it's there, and
Because we're really having fun.
Yeah. And one of the comments that I had for my wedding pictures, well, the wedding day, was that my friend who I just met recently just said, "Oh wow, your photographer, he really captured everything, not in a sense where he captured everything, but captured everything that was important." And when she saw my pictures, she was really stunned, and she was like, "Yeah, from the first look to the wedding, walking down the steps to going into your wedding hall, everything. He captured your reaction, he captured your emotions, and pretty much kind of created that moment, versus just a picture. He kind of created a moment, kind of the idea." And she was really, really impressed, and she was like, "Wow, he must be expensive." I was like, "Well, I'm not telling you how much it is, but yeah." So
We are blessed.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that whole process really kind of really eased us. I didn't realize that getting a photographer was such an easy step for us, but
It wasn't
easy. But,
But I knew.
yeah, but
I knew
Sergey
when I
made it
met
so much
Sergey.
better. Yeah,
Yeah.
when we met Sergey, it was just we knew that he was going to be a great photographer.
yeah.
We left it up to him. Whatever he told us to do, we did it. And whatever he didn't tell us to do, he took pictures anyway. So it didn't really matter to us. We're just in front of the lens as customers. But through being his customer, we kind of found a new friend and kind of a pretty good relationship with Sergey still, and we keep in touch still. Yeah.
Oh.
And so yeah, we definitely appreciate it. Yeah. So yeah, the process of going into the engagement photo shoot gave us a lot of confidence as well, because we spent about 5-6 hours shooting and hiking from one spot to the next in Yosemite, and learning what poses to do, how we stand, where we stand,
What's
to
our
my
best
left,
angle
yeah,
is.
what you're to my left or to my right, depending on the lighting as well. Do we want the sun in our eyes or not in our eyes? But yeah, those are things that we learned from Sergey, and of course, once we learned all those things for 5 hours, we kind of got a little bit more comfortable with becoming in front of like the camera. And then after that, when he sent us copies of the pictures when we were done, and we saw so many great pictures and so many pictures that we love, we kind of said, it made me feel a lot better about our
Right.
wedding pictures, because that's,
never
yeah.
in anybody's mind that that you can pose or anything like that. That's like the biggest thing. But going through the whole engagement, 5 hours of it, you become more comfortable with the photographer, with whoever's behind that lens, to help you to know his style and then your own style, looking through those pictures. So that when the big day comes, you're a lot more comfortable because you already know where your good side is. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when the day of, you have so much on your mind and you don't want to think about, oh, am I supposed to stand here? Am I supposed to
Right.
stand there? Or how to pose? It comes kind of naturally because you've already done it once. And that experience kind of made me feel a lot better on the wedding day itself,
Yeah.
where I'm just going to try to enjoy myself. I'm getting married to my wife, and
Yeah.
there's no pressure of standing a certain way or anything. I'm just going to be as natural as I can. And I think that experience really helped with our wedding day. And our wedding day, of course, was a longer day too. So
I'm glad we did it
yeah,
though.
I think that experience
yeah.
helped us a lot.
I'm glad that we had the engagement shoot before our wedding, because some of my friends, they don't have that luxury to do the engagement shoot prior to their wedding, and so it's nerve-wracking when you have a camera in your face all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
so-
definitely recommend having an engagement shoot before your wedding,
Yeah.
just so you can kind of get comfortable with that.
And you boost your confidence too.
Yeah, definitely.
For the big day.
Because we're never in
When-
front of cameras, and now in a short year you're in front of the camera for like 8 hours.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's the scary part too.
And then seeing beautiful photos on your engagement shoot, you know what to expect for your big day as well. So when we receive all these pictures, we combing through them, and we know which one is the better, finding the better picture for the display for your wedding, as well as how to pose or how to interact with each other on the big day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it comes down to picking the photos itself, we pretty much decided on so many beautiful pictures that we had, like really nice pictures, where we had to narrow it down. This was probably the harder process, but because there was so many good pictures to pick from, we decided to go with 2 pretty big photo album, just because we want to maximize the pictures that we have because of the scenery, because of everything that we went through. I mean, it's an epic Yosemite shoot. So we wanted to capture everything that Yosemite has to offer as well. So we decided on the 2 biggest photo album that he recommended for us. We went with the 2 big ones, and the process was really easy. He kind of gave us, okay, what kind of layout do you want, and then where to put it. And it's all on computer. Everything is super easy. You just have to click and drag and pretty much kind of figure out which one you want and email it back to him, and he placed it. And then of course, you know, it came out beautifully. These albums, you would not believe it. It looks like we spent a lot of money on it. It really does. And they're really big, and it's a statement. It's timeless, meaning you open it, you'll know that it's really a high quality piece of art.
Yeah, we still look at it to this day, and it still feels like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point that I was looking for in a photographer, and what I want to capture for the big day as well. I mean, the big day is only one day, but the videography and the photography, what's left of it, it's going to last years to come. And so I feel like what we got, it's going to last years to come, down to our kids' generation, if any. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the photo albums, they look magnificent. I mean, it's not something you would just store away in the garage or an attic. Mm-hmm. It's something we keep in our living room, right there in our coffee table, and our friends come over, they'll look at it, they're like, what is this big old book? You know, and we're like, that's our photo album. They're like, oh my goodness. Yeah, sure. They're like, oh my goodness, this is your photo album? Like, they're like, yeah. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, it is. And so everybody just kind of take a look at it whenever they want. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to just put on top of your coffee table. Yeah. It looks great in the house, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so since we talked so much about our process of or how we became comfortable with our photographer, we just want to point out some advice and some tips that since we've been through it, and the stuff that we trip over or stuff that we discovered that was easy for us. One of the main things is that our engagement was pretty long. We had plenty of time. Yeah, budget was a big thing too. Make sure you know your budget. You are going to go over budget a little bit, but make sure you understand that, you know, that's something that you're going to have to sacrifice as well. And I think a lot of it is us sacrificing our own time to make things for ourselves, meaning our day offs, we're running around looking at thrift stores, finding props, finding things for our wedding. We handmade a lot of stuff from our wedding as well. If you see them in the pictures, those are the things that Ann and I both put our time and money and effort into making. We didn't know how to make these things. We had to YouTube a lot of things and learn how to make these things. Again, that's all in a process, and that's why we say that, you know, that process was more memorable than our wedding itself. But our advice to you is just be creative. It's your wedding, but make sacrifices, because that's the thing that you're going to spend a lot of time, money on, and it's a one-day thing, and you can only capture as much as you can in it. And you have to make the sacrifices of what to put in and what not to put in. Yeah,
and have a vision. You definitely want to know what kind of style you're looking for, or what the day gonna look like, or what kind of decor you want. So then you can make that vision come to life. And for us, like he said, budget was the biggest thing on our list. How do we achieve that look, or how do we achieve that vision without sacrificing or going over the budget? So him and I, we come to a compromise, finding different ways, different materials, going to different resources to make it happen. And if it really we cannot really make it happen, then we have to compromise in other ways. But that whole process, we handmade our table numbers, our table decor, down to the name tags, our arbor.
Yeah, everything down to the chair that we're sitting on, the table that we are sitting on, our bride and groom's table. I actually handmade most of those and everything on that. Yeah. And, you know, again, you know, it's a process of saving wherever you can, you save, you know.
That's where the fun comes in, though, because that's how we built memories. And that whole wedding came to life because the both of us put in our time and our effort to make that happen. And so when we look at these pictures, we see all of those things, and it's actually recall back to the time that we
Yeah.
were engaged down to the little details, more so than the big day in itself. The big day was for the friends and family, but we had many, many memories built before then. So give yourself plenty of time prior to your wedding so you can have that memories built, because it's not just one day. It's a lifetime to come, and also the time that you get engaged to the time of your wedding. That's how we were able to build that memories with each other. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think my favorite things when I look at my pictures is that when I see the pictures of our wedding hall or our wedding table, I get to revisit on, oh my God, it took me like how many hours to make those table numbers, or when I spray painted it at nighttime, or when I made the table at my sister's house because I was hiding it from her and stuff like that, and things like that. Those pictures capture those memories that I have with the objects that are in the pictures. And I think that that's what the wedding process is all about, and I think for people who are getting married and are planning their wedding, have fun with it, be true to yourself, have fun with it, and do what you want it for your wedding. I mean, and nobody else is going to do it for you, so you got to get creative and think outside the box and give yourself plenty of time and make sure you make sure you
Yeah, because we invest so much time and effort into making our vision come true. The next biggest thing that I'm not willing to sacrifice is obviously the photography aspect of it, because I want to make sure that all of these things are captured. So then, we can have something to look back upon. So if you're planning and if you have to spend a lot on your makeup or your hair or the food, decorations, stuff like that, I would recommend you to think about cutting back on those things just so that you have a budget for the photography, because you're not going to remember what you're going to eat 10 years ago or what the decoration looked like. You're not going to remember it unless you have it in pictures. So yeah, that's one of the things that we're not willing to sacrifice. And so time and the photography is what you really need for to take the stress and to preserve the biggest day of your life.